Before moving on to 13b part 2, I wanted to specify the types of answers that Alex is looking for, just to make it a little more clear. So, in Alex, you might be asked to enter your answers in different ways. So, if you are asked to give a real number solution, and the answer you get is imaginary, what you would enter in Alex is no solution, because the solution was not real, it was imaginary. If Alex specifies that they want an exact answer, then that answer will usually contain the radical. Unless the radical simplifies out. And the third thing I wanted to point out is if they ask for a decimal answer, that is when you go to the calculator. Being very careful how you enter it, either enclosing the numerator in parentheses or hitting enter before you divide. All right. There is one final method to solving a quadratic equation, but this method only applies to very specific forms of a quadratic equation. So if you are presented with something squared is equal to some number, like in example 1, we have x squared is equal to 40. In example 2, we have x squared is equal to negative 121. Then you can use what we call the square root method to solve for these quadratic equations. However, this is probably the most common mistake I see. You must be careful to remember that there are two solutions to a quadratic equation. And it's easy to forget the plus or minus when you are solving by taking the square root. All right, so I'll show you what I mean in example 1. Notice that the middle term is missing. So there's no x term here, just x squared. So in that case, what you can do is you can take the square root of both sides to solve this inequality. So I'm going to take the square root of x squared, but if I do that to the left, I also have to do that to the right. Now technically, the square root of x squared is not just x. It's the absolute value of x. And then the square root of 40 can be simplified. So if I go over here, I've got 2 times 20, which is 2 times 10, which is 2 times 5. So I have a pair of 2's here. So I'm going to put my pairs under one radical. and then my non-pairs, 2 times 5 under the other radical. The square root of 2 squared is 2, and 2 times 5 is 10. So the absolute value of x is equal to 2 times the square root of 10. But remember, when you're solving an absolute value equation, then you have two answers. X could either be 2 times the square root of 10, or x could be negative 2 times the square root of 10. And a lot of times we see mathematicians write that like this, much like you see it appear in the quadratic formula. But remember, there are two answers, and this is what they are separated out.